What's up, sinners and saints?
This is Boudoir After Dark.
This is the podcast about sex, kink, desires, and all the things people whisper about but rarely ever say out loud.
And we're constantly blown away by how many different ways humans experience pleasure, identity, intimacy, and power.
We're here to ask the questions that sometimes people might be too afraid to ask, and then challenge the bullshit assumptions that we've all been taught.
So if you're here to learn, unlearn, and maybe question a few things you thought you knew,
welcome to Boudoir After Dark.
Quick note before we get into it.
This podcast is intended for mature audiences.
We are not giving medical or legal advice.
Or mental health advice or professional counseling.
If you need personal help, please talk to a qualified professional.
This episode is for education, storytelling, and entertainment.
Let's get into it.
Boudoir After Dark. This is me.
Hello and welcome to Boudoir After Dark, brought to you by Boudoir After Dark. My name's Jason.
I'm Hilda.
And together, we're Boudoir After Dark.
And we're photographers and video and lighting, because we don't plug that enough.
We're
not
plug
just a
that enough.
podcast.
That's right.
Yeah. We actually take amazing photo and video of your sexy people or yourself.
Today, not just today, but this entire month of
Yeah.
June is Pride Month.
Pride Month it is.
And I think not only...
Wait a minute.
Oh, what?
I am not wearing anything Pride.
What is going on here? Why are we also matching?
Because I wanted it that way.
Dude,
Do you want me to go change?
No, what I love
Can you
about this
put up a
is
rainbow
you
or
have
something?
so... I'll do like a little animated rainbow right there. The funny part about this is half your clothing
I
is
know.
rainbow.
I know.
Half.
Oops, all right,
Half
whatever.
your wardrobe.
My excuse is I didn't sleep well and I'm crabby, so this is what felt comfortable
AKA
today.
it's a Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. But yes, let's talk about...
But it's Pride Month, and not to get political, but
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to bring the LGBTQ plus community more to the forefront
Yes.
now than ever.
That's correct. The story is that my friend Anita reached out to me, like this was years ago, and she was very big in the LGBTQ community. And since I'm bisexual, I'm like, why am I not doing anything? You know, so I said to her, I'm like, well, what do you have going on? And she's like, come to the Pride Parade in Chicago. We're going to join the Free Mom Hugs group. So you march in the parade, and, you know, not just in the parade, but you go to these events, you put on your Free Mom Hugs t-shirt, and you make yourself available to give them a mom hug for the ones, the LGBTQ community who's been disowned, or they no longer have a parent, or some sort of issue like that. So we went in the parade, and it was beautiful and exciting and overwhelming, but some of the most touching parts of it for us was not only just hugging the men, women. Some were like so young that they were teenagers, that they actually, like, I have a photo of one, I think it was one woman hanging on Anita's neck and just like sobbing into her shoulder because she said that, you know, it's been like 10 years since she got a hug from her mom because they no longer talk. So that was just like so devastating and heartbreaking, but at the same time, it was so soul-fulfilling. Because after the parade, we went to a restaurant to kind of like decompress and like have a glass of ice water. Because
aftercare.
Yeah. I didn't even know about aftercare at the time. But we were chit-chatting and like trying to come down from the high. And there was this beautiful, tiny, like she was like a little pixie of a woman just sitting in the corner, and she like kept glancing over at us. And you never know, like, if people are looking at you like, you know, sideways, like who the F are you, like advertising your gayness or supportive gayness, or somebody that's like being supportive. So after like 5-10 minutes of uncomfortable staring, I kept saying, I'm like, that woman is staring at us. That woman is coming to us. So she stops at the table and she looks down at us and she goes, I hope it's not too much bother, but I saw your T-shirt. Can I please have a hug?
Aww.
So I'm like, of course you can have a hug. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like right now I'm getting chills talking about it. So this brings us to our guest, who you're going to introduce.
This does bring us to our guest. The history of the LGBTQ community is not modern. It has been as long as the history of fucking humanity. And with that, I am unbelievably excited to introduce today's guest, Wendy, for coming on today and for educating us so much more than we can even hope to know.
Well, thank you so much.
Wendy, thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I have an interest in history in general, but of course, because there's so much history that a lot of people don't know about queer history, I wanted to bring that topic up, as well as because this is a podcast about kink, how that actually is where kink history started as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kink history and LGBTQ history started at the same time?
Not exactly.
Okay,
but there's
let's
a
hear it.
lot of overlap.
All right.
So there was obviously, as you mentioned, queer people of various types have been around for as long as there's been humans.
Exactly.
But there was this movement after World War II where the men coming back from the war found themselves kind of adrift. Obviously, some got married and settled down and started having the nuclear families, and but there was plenty of men who found or realized during their time in out in the war that that they had feelings for other men, and so they got together, and especially people who are interested in motorcycles, which were becoming very popular in the 50s. They formed motorcycle clubs.
No shit.
And
So was that kind of code for we're on the DL?
yes. So obviously not all motorcycle clubs, but there was a very strong correlation between gay men and forming these motorcycle clubs.
And also a great freaking excuse to leave the house. You're going to go hang out with the boys and ride
Right,
motorcycles.
right.
It's not going to be questioned
And leather.
Bingo. Yes.
Oh my God, I've never correlated those things.
Yes, that is where the leather community got its start. And I'll get more into what the leather community is now. But in the 50s, after the war, it was motorcycle clubs, and especially for these men who obviously didn't want to settle down with a wife and have a family for the most part, although there, of course, were closeted ones who did that. They all kind of had to be closeted because it was it was very risky to come out.
Yeah.
There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, they had to stay closeted. The only place where they could be free to be themselves were in these motorcycle clubs, where they knew the other people involved and they had the freedom to go out on the road and travel around and visit other places. So some of them built a home base in their city where they lived, but they also had the freedom to branch out and visit other towns and other places, clubs. And then this grew through the 60s until the 70s. It turned into not just motorcycle clubs. It turned into clubs that did not necessarily have to do with motorcycles. It was more, then it kind of, in the 70s, it turned more into leather. And
were women also involved?
So that's a great question. While it was predominantly gay men, there were lots of lesbians, and there was a motorcycle gang in Los Angeles called Dykes on Bikes. That's what they named themselves.
On the nose and respect for it.
Right.
I love it.
That sounds so familiar. Are they still around, I wonder?
I am not sure.
Wow.
But yeah, it was both gay men and lesbian women, and because the other identities hadn't coalesced as much at that point. And so that was the 70s, where in New York City and Los Angeles and many, large cities like Houston and Dallas, Chicago, obviously, had leather clubs, and a lot of them were gay leather clubs, and there was a few that were lesbian leather clubs. So it was a place where people could be free to be themselves and to be honest and open with each other. And it was just a very tight community. They had just deep familial relationships, even not just with people who were their partners, but it was a very tight-knit community. And there, unfortunately, then the AIDS epidemic happened. And that just, it really took its toll on these queer communities. And I don't know if you guys know the reason why the L comes first in the LBG.
No.
Because during the AIDS epidemic, when there was all these men that were sick and dying in hospitals, in hospice, from the AIDS virus, they were taken care of by lesbians.
Whoa.
There were many lesbians who stepped up and said, you know what, I'm not afraid of this. I'm going to help you out. So that's why L is first.
Really?
Yep. In recognition of the lesbians who helped the gay men through their times of death. And so, unfortunately, there was not a good governmental response to the AIDS epidemic in the 80s. The government did not respond at all because there was a lot of people who were like, oh, good, the gay people have something that's killing them off, good riddance, it's horrible stuff like that. And so it wasn't until straight people started getting it and dying from it that the government started to care. So there was this reuniting and build up from this whole. Did you know that there actually more people died from the AIDS epidemic than people who died in Vietnam, the Vietnam War?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I forget the number, but
Oh my
yes,
God,
considerably more.
Unbelievable.
And so actually the leather communities that were still around that weren't torn apart, that they were able to hold together, they were actually one of the first communities to start offering sex education to the public.
Really?
Like, hey, don't get, protect yourself, wear a condom, use whatever protection you have available to prevent, we're not going to tell you to not have sex because that's just a human thing to do.
Correct, right.
But, they started, distributing condoms and just making sure that people were aware of the risks. And so it was something that the leather community did was sex education at first. And that was into the 90s. There was also that AIDS memorial quilt that was laid out on the national
monument?
The strip of land.
I remember this.
So the quilt was basically a memorial. Each piece of the quilt was to memorialize somebody who had died from AIDS.
Wow.
And putting all these pieces together, honoring all these people, it stretched out so far on the lawn. It was just such a big coming together for the queer community to pay their respects to the people who had passed and to show that the community is still here, that AIDS hadn't obliterated them, as unfortunately some people had hoped. And
what year or what decade did the whole quilt thing come about?
Oh man.
Like,
unfortunately,
recently,
even though I love history, I'm not good at dates.
No, like I'm not asking for exact date. Like, was it in the pre-2000s, post-2000s?
It was late 80s, I think late 80s is when the AIDS quilt happened.
Okay, so
it was actually like a protest too.
Okay, so it was to bring awareness to like, hey, look at all these.
I remember people were pissed about it.
Really?
Yeah, because it was basically people being out. They were not only honoring their friends who had passed, they were also saying, well, I'm also gay, and it could have gotten me. For whatever reason, it didn't. So yeah, it was actually one of. So I mean, actually, I need to backtrack because there's also another piece of history I forgot. But the AIDS is a very important and unfortunate, somber time. And it was also just a part of the gay rights movement that also helped solidify the movement through the 90s into the current millennia. So I forgot to talk about where Pride began.
I was going to ask you, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
So what do you like by pride, meaning like pride as we know it today, to like talk about, that you're open and then you're like, I'm queer, I'm here, fuck you, like that thing? Or
well, yeah, like the public demonstration and protest to bring awareness to gay rights.
Gotcha.
And so the start of that, you may have heard, is the Stonewall uprising. That happened in New York City. Similar things happened on the West Coast.
Can you talk about what the Stonewall uprising is?
Yeah, so the gay bars in New York City kept getting raided by the police, and people kept getting arrested and fined and put in jail for a bit. And so there was just this
harassment.
Harassment.
Because there was no reason to arrest them, right? Like what?
Well, it was technically illegal.
It was illegal
It was vague. There was very vague laws. But that basically the police were free to interpret as, if people are engaging in anything homosexual, that they could actually be arrested and charged for it.
So fucked up.
So, and it wasn't like they were doing it like out on the street.
Right.
Oh, I mean, okay, there is a bit of that culture in there too. That's called cruising culture when you're looking for something, but I'll get to that later.
I'm taking notes.
Okay.
So Stonewall.
So the gay people had just had enough of just being harassed by the cops, and finally they're like, no, we've had enough. We don't need to be put in jail for just being here, hanging out in a bar like straight people do without being harassed. And so there was Marsha P. Johnson, who was a trans woman, a black lady who was one of the first people to pick up a brick and throw it at the cops and start the whole riot. And then there was also, oh my gosh, I forget her name, but there's also another lady of color, a lesbian, who also threw the first punch at a cop. And so it was these two ladies of color who stood up to the cops, and everyone else followed suit because they wanted to let it be known that they weren't going to be bullied.
Gotcha.
And
is it called Stonewall because that was the name of the bar?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And it's still a national monument today.
It still exists today?
It still exists, and it's a national monument because of its historical significance.
So meaning that it's not operating as a bar?
Actually, I think it is.
Okay. It's just protected.
Yes.
Got it.
Uh-huh.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so it was actually the anniversary of this riot. Stonewall happened in, I forget if it was 68 or 69. Again, dates not so good with those. And then the anniversary of that is when they got together and had their first Pride Parade, or a semblance of a Pride Parade.
Okay.
Basically, people went and marched to show that we're here, we're queer, we're not going away. And very, like I said, very similar things were happening on the West Coast, in Los Angeles, especially San Francisco. Like San Francisco has a reputation as being a very proactive, supportive. I mean, generally.
Right.
There was mayor. There was a mayor of San Francisco in the early 70s, Harvey Milk. He was one of the rare openly gay politicians, and he got assassinated.
Of course.
And so again, it's a tragedy becomes a rallying point for the community.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that I assume then everything happened in June, since June is Pride Month. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Stonewall, the Stonewall uprising and riot happened in June, correct? So that's why on the anniversary that's why Pride is celebrated.
Yeah. On a somewhat related note, we don't like to talk about politics, but I remember. Don't give me that look. I think it was earlier this year that the outgoing Hungarian President Orban, he wanted no parade, no this and that, and then and I was shocked, because my background is Hungarian. I'm like, the Hungarians are not gonna worry about whether or not there's a great Pride march, but it's been a minute since I've lived around there, so. Suddenly, 3 million people showed up, and it was the largest gathering of gay people in one
gay rights
or gay supporters
in one central location.
So had he not said anything, so I love that. Plus, he's voted out of office now. So
fuck that guy.
Yeah, I know. Right, and that's all the politics.
I know. We'll save that for another episode or podcast in general. Okay, so you just laid down a 101 class on us, and I appreciate
a very
everything.
As brief as I can make it history.
And that's kind of what you have to do though, because if you go into the minutia of it, you might miss the overtones of why something's important. Being a teacher, myself, I think it's very important to paint wide strokes, and then explain why those strokes were important to the overall message. I think pride is so goddamn important because it is putting things in people's faces. We had the Black Lives Matter movement not long ago, and it's very easy to get to the negative side of this, where you look at people who are like, well, all lives matter. It's that's not the fucking point. The point is that someone needs help just to be recognized as a human, and that transition, you said this was happening in when did Pride start roughly? The riot was in 68, 69.
Yeah, so late 60s, and it carried on into the 70s.
The Pride started in the late 60s. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay. So it took until 2000s for that to become a normalized thing. And that's what I'm trying to get here with my long diatribe. Is it's 40 years? For someone to go, okay, I guess you can do this.
Yeah.
That's so fucked up.
When I was in school, nobody really talked about it, even if we knew that somebody was gay, hey, that's cool, we're still friends with them, but it wasn't super open. Whereas my kids' generation, when I was involved with the high school stuff, meaning that my kids were in high school, not anything weird, but my son used to come.
I didn't take it as anything weird.
My son, I'm just saying, because edit high school stuff. My son used to come home. It's blah blah. My friend so and so came out, or my friend so and so is about to transition. I'm this is so amazing. Now it's almost normalized for them. I'm sure they still have a lot of issues that they're dealing with, but the fact that you can have friends that are in every shape, form, sexuality,
clique
and
group,
and have people love you and accept you who you are. That's just
knocking
amazing.
on wood, because we are aware that this is not a total. Everything's fine now.
Right?
No, God, no,
no.
And that's why I think in introducing this topic is so vitally important right now, because we're on the precipice of legally this shit being taken away. So. I mean, there's 1,000 questions I would love to talk about, but really quick, we're starting Pride 68, 69. During the 50s and 60s, you could be arrested for gay activity, which to me is such a faraway fantasy of an idea that's even a possibility of a thing. But when did the government, or at least states, whatever, start recognizing gay people as fucking normal people? That I'm sorry. I could go off onto angry soapbox diatribes, and I need to wrap it up.
We have a guest.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, I mean, what was it? 2010 was it when they made same-sex marriage legal across the country.
What was it 2010?
I think so,
Yeah.
around there, yeah. And my friend Anita that I was talking about earlier, she was one of the first officiants that actually did gay marriage in Illinois. Like the very first, that
Like,
was amazing.
Adamantly, she was all
Yes.
about that.
Yes.
Because we come from the wedding world, and I remember like watching the news when that happened, and I was so happy. I was
Yeah.
so
There's going
excited.
to be so many weddings.
Well, I mean, yeah, the business side of me is like, oh, I get to do this. But have you ever been to a gay wedding?
Oh my God.
They're amazing.
Yes.
100%.
So it's like, I want to film those. They're so much fun.
Yes, there's so much joy.
And that's what, from the whole day.
Celebration.
Like, there is no like, be quiet now. We're having a wedding.
This is somber.
Yeah. And what's sad is that I've actually done gay weddings before it was legal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like they had like this big
Yep.
party and it was
Yeah.
amazing. And I remember one of the brides giving a speech and she's like, I cannot wait until the day I can marry my wife
I remember
legally.
that. Yep.
And they had the whole everything party, celebration, ceremony, everything, but it still wasn't official.
It
and
wasn't
was
official
so-
with the state.
State, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
So when that came about, what kind of changes did you notice or see?
Well, it was it was great that people could actually qualify for like insurance benefits from their spouse's employer.
Right.
That they could have visitation rights at hospitals. Because if you weren't legally married, they wouldn't let you in to see your sick partner. Yeah, there's a lot of protections that married people have that people in same-sex relationships just didn't have access to. So, and that's something that we don't need to. We should not take for granted for the people who need that. So I do want to circle back and bring in kink.
Let's do it.
Because I did touch a little bit on maybe not. So for where kink history starts to overlap with the gay and queer in general history is that out of those leather so back to those leather clubs, which often were motorcycle clubs, but then turned into non-motorcycle clubs as well. And so the broad term was leather. And there was a resurgence after the AIDS epidemic for these leather communities. And they started as mostly for gay men and for lesbian women, but then there was actually this one leather event, I forget the name of it, but the story goes is that there was this leather event, I think it was on the West Coast, where they had separated the space. So the convention space had a curtain down the middle, and on one side is where the gay men could play, on the other was where the lesbian women could play, and just keeping it separated by gender. And then the people who ran the event realized that people were like lifting the curtain over and over because there happened to be crossover, because it turned out that people had more sexualities than just gay and lesbian at this event.
Shocked Pikachu.
Amazing.
Right, I know.
I love that's how it went by. It's just people like, what are they doing?
Why are they looking?
Why are they looking?
So that it's a colorful story to illustrate that the pansexual community, and by pansexual community, I don't necessarily mean just people made out of pansexuals, but meaning that it's people of any sexuality within the kink community. So this was a leather event that they were doing kink at. So this was basically a giant play party in the convention space where they had the curtain between. And so they had the various like stations to play at. And so, that's just, so basically out of the gay and the lesbian leather communities is where people started doing kink in events, conventions. The leather communities were actually the first, not only for sex education, but also kink education. So because not only was and is sex risky when it comes to STIs, but also kink is risky in terms of you could really harm someone if you don't know what you're doing. So the leather communities were the first to start putting together the educational aspects of kink.
Wow.
And so then the kink community started to grow on its own. Obviously with the internet booming in the late 90s, more people got online and connected through the internet, and eventually FetLife became a thing, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
But
Wrap up this documentary.
right.
We're good. We got it.
Yeah. So the leather community is still a thing. And in fact, one of the first kink events that I went to was International Mr. Leather, which happens in Chicago. And that is a leather competition. I didn't go to the competition part of it because, I'm not a part of the gay leather community, but there is a giant vendor hall.
I actually looked into that to get us booths, but it was too late. Yeah.
Yes. And I can imagine it's very expensive to vend there as well because it is a very big event.
Those bigger cons, they cost a lot more.
Yeah. So it's yes, it's a very large and active community now and has been, and so the existence of the gay leather community kind of helped bolster and guide the pansexual kink community until it became its own thing. And like there are other leather events such as Leather in the Mountains, which used to be only like for queer people who attended, has definitely turned into a pansexual event. So leather is open to everyone. I'm personally not a practitioner of leather, but I very, very interested in it as a bystander, observer. So I have a lot of respect and honor for what the leather community does, because they are so supportive, and they have these competitions which are like pageants, which I think is cool to basically for a community to hold up someone like this is someone that we want to represent us and our local community, to represent us on the national level. There is a group in Wisconsin. Oh, by the way, I'm from Wisconsin. There's a group in Wisconsin. It's Wisconsin Leather Pride that is going to have their event in November. And it's just great. For a long time, Wisconsin didn't have one of these leather events, so it's nice to see that they have one now. And because it used to be, it was only for things, they only happened in big cities. So it's nice to see that there are, it's still a growing thing. There's new communities growing everywhere in smaller places because more people are hearing about it, connecting with it. The main things that are in competition at the leather events are they have best boot black, because taking care of your leather is such an important part of the community. So one of my previous girlfriends is actually a title holder boot black. And
so boot black.
I was like,
the word boot and the word black.
That's the polish, right?
Yes.
Like the walk me through that competition, because I'm the kind of person who watches the Olympics, and I'm like, if there's not points, I don't get the whole scoring thing.
Oh yeah. So yes, they are judged. There's a panel of judges who judge how well they take care of a pair of boots that need to be. There's sometimes they need mending. They have scuffs that need to be polished over, and so they can actually take a pair of boots that have been worn, scuffed. The leather needs care because it came from a living thing, and it still has a bit of a life even after the animal has passed.
I respect that, and I acknowledge that. Yes. Sorry, I was not trying to push that away.
No.
I really do.
I go on tangents too. So.
Do they have to show proof that it was scuffed up and things like that, or do they actually physically do it on the spot, where like they get this
that's what I was
they get this
gonna
old
ask,
leather.
yeah.
It's like, you got to make this good now.
Like now.
Right.
You got half an hour.
I'm not sure.
Designers.
So the judges do see the boots before, and then they actually watch the process of them doing it.
Okay.
And then so it's not just the outcome; it's also like
That's
how they're
awesome.
doing it.
I
So,
love that.
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
It's so it's a point of pride being able to take care of your leather, and the boot blacks are the ones that specialize in it. They used to be traditionally like the submissives, but now it's like you don't have to be dominant or submissive to be a
Right.
boot black. Anybody can be a boot black.
Okay.
Then they also have competitions for like best like dom sub partnerships. So it's like they enter as a partnership. So
and how are they judged?
Unfairly. I'm kidding.
so a lot of it, I mean, it's very similar to a pageant. I mean,
Or is it
It's-
just by looks?
no, it's definitely not just by looks. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, looks might come into play because, judges are human. But a lot of it is how you present yourself, your style. And the big part of it is like, and I love this about leather events, they will actually put on a performance of a fantasy.
Okay, hold on. I gotta get some popcorn. Please continue.
So they'll actually like have a fantasy, like they'll think of a fantasy and then they'll perform it for the judges. So it's basically, it's a lot of creativity. It's a lot of
so
like
cool.
showcasing what your life is and also what your fantasy is. And it's just a lot of it can be funny. Like some people take a comedic angle to it. Some people have a very like heartfelt, very touching way of showing their fantasy. Like for a lot of them, for a long time, their fantasy was living happily, married happily ever after. So it's it's very, the fantasies are very telling about their inner world, and just they're showcasing it in a performative way. So it's all very fun.
That sounds amazing.
Yes.
What's the name of it? This event in Milwaukee that you're
Wisconsin.
Oh no, this is just for leather events in
Oh,
just
in
like
general?
Yes.
Oh, I
This
thought it
is-
was like specific to that.
I'm so
Okay.
pissed I have not heard about this. Like if it
Yes.
was one convention,
Yeah.
I'm like, cool.
But
Like,
still
like
write down the Milwaukee.
oh, I
name
already did it twice.
And that's the Wisconsin Leather Pride. But yes, it happens in Milwaukee.
Okay, that's so cool.
So it's just a celebration. Leather events, like these big leather events where they have the pageants, it's a celebration of their community and their culture, because there's definitely like a culture to the leather community, and it's a lot of it is honoring the past, honoring the roots of where the queer community used to be, and also taking that into the future.
And what are some things that people who want to support the LGBTQA movement, like what are some of the things that they could do that aren't too like time consuming? Because it's like, not to be an asshole or anything, but like the amount of work our friend Anita does for the community, like it pales in comparison to what I try to do. But at least I still want to try to do something to help. So what could somebody do?
Yeah, so a lot of cities have their own LGBTQ centers, which costs money with overhead of operational costs.
Yeah.
So, obviously money, but a lot of time is a good way to help without having to supply money if you're unable to. So
Or
there's
unemployed.
Yeah, exactly. There's like volunteer opportunities. Most large cities have LGBTQ centers.
Okay.
So usually you can find them on Facebook or just searching them online. But that volunteer work is great.
Gotcha.
And just promoting promoting them. I things really just need to. It's easy to get caught up on like national level stuff, but if you want to make a difference, start with your own community.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been focusing that politically more so
Yeah.
amongst our current life.
Yeah.
You were saying that you had these conventions, these leather conventions. kink kink feels like it's old as hell, right? like as long as there's been people around who have a thought they had a kink for something.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things that I've been saying my entire life, ever since like I had deep, good conversations at a young age, is that everyone has a kink. But most people I think are afraid to admit it because they think their kink is so weird compared to everyone else's and no one would accept them.
Or maybe they haven't discovered it yet.
Or maybe they hadn't discovered it yet. But it's like, I'm seeing the pride grow, and I think we should start a drinking game every time we say pride in this episode. But like the pride in the community grow throughout like the leather community, throughout the LGBTQ community. Where does kink start to fall into this? Because we know it now where there's like kink conventions everywhere and there's groups everywhere and there's dungeons everywhere. So how does that start to evolve from this culture?
So I think most of the evolution of kink starting within queer communities happened in the 90s. And I think they're kind of separate now. I feel. I mean, obviously, I know a lot of people who are both in the leather community and the kink community.
Right.
So there's definitely overlap.
Yes.
But because the pansexual kink community has grown so much, they're kind of like they're on their own. You know, they've. And it's, of course, with like big websites like FetLife, it's very centralized on FetLife. Although before FetLife, there was an educational BDSM group in Madison, Wisconsin that started in '95. That's Satyricon. Satyricon was not a leather group per se. It was more of a University of Wisconsin student organization because they started meeting up in the union at the college there. And so they decided they wanted to learn more about BDSM, and so they would find people to educate, to present classes about various topics. And Satyricon is still going today,
under that name?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Over 30 years strong. And I was on the board of that for 4 years, and I'm so glad I did that. A lot of people have put in a lot of volunteer time into that community. And because it is actually technically a nonprofit, so whatever money they take in is just for giving to the educators to help them with the costs of coming in town to present. And I just feel so much pride about this educational community or educational group because it's one of the oldest BDSM education groups in America.
That's fantastic.
Right in my home state.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So and tangentially, well, I definitely wanted to touch upon another thing where there's also an intersection of the queer community and kink, and that can be found at the Leather Archive and Museum. Have you two heard of this?
No.
I have heard of it, but I've never been. Isn't it in Chicago?
It is.
Okay.
One of the neighborhoods. I forget which one.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I get around sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Leather Archive and Museum, or LA&M, it started, oh my gosh, I want to say, well, it basically started in response to the AIDS epidemic because they want the queer people who survived, those who died, wanted to have a way of memorializing their friends who had passed.
Yeah.
And so the museum was founded by a couple of gay men, and they actually collected various artifacts from the clubs, the leather clubs that used to be in Chicago. And there's actually, they somehow preserved these large wall murals that used to be at this gay club called the Gold Coast in Chicago, and that these murals can be seen within the museum. It's
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah. And so they have all these patches from the leather clubs. They have an exhibit dedicated to the lesbian leather clubs. They have all sorts of wonderful artifacts, exhibits, as you would expect from a museum having exhibits. And in fact, one of their exhibits is specifically hands-on various kink accoutrements.
No way.
So they have
cool.
this wall where they have these various types of ropes you can feel, like cotton, jute, hemp, nylon, all these various just kinky toys where it's like
That's
they're
so cool.
clean, but they're just here's an example of chains or cuffs or just all these basically here's what the toys are, here's the various properties they have, here's what they have a kink specific exhibit at the museum.
It's like a children's museum for kids.
Right.
You just get to play with everything.
Yes, adults only.
Yeah, right. Sorry.
No worries. They also have a library there, so they have archives of various books that have been written regarding both queer culture and kink culture. So all sorts of topics. It's a very extensive library in that people can actually go in and sit and read there. I'm not sure if anything is check-outable or not. Yeah, I don't know about that. But anyway, it is a library that everyone has access to. And it's so they've archived so much of gay history as well as kink history there.
Do they have art pieces as well?
Oh yeah.
Hands down, my favorite art piece of all time. I literally stumbled on. I was at the Modern Museum of Art in Chicago, which, by the way, I heard Milwaukee's Modern Museum of Art is jaw-droppingly outstanding,
it is,
and I haven't gone yet. But I was in the modern art, and there was a pile of candy on the ground. And being the fat kid, I was like, "Ooh, piece of candy." But then I read the article, I read the synopsis on it, and I had to sit down because I was crying so hard. It hurt so much. And I think about this damn near every day. And what happened, this artist wanted the weight of his body when he died from AIDS to be recorded, and then a pile of candy to be put on display that anyone could take, and it would just be replenished all the time. And that people could take a part of his story, part of his journey with them, and then his journey would live on forever. Oh my God. And that's the kind of stuff I would flip over backwards to see again. And it sounds so simple, but that shit changed the way I saw so many things. So if the Leather Archive and Museum has 100th of that kind of emotional impact, I want to go badly.
We're gonna go regardless.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're open every weekend.
And I'm looking now. Yeah. They have regular events and everything.
Okay.
So we have to check it out.
Yeah, I was just thinking it was a gay artist who died during the AIDS epidemic, and I don't that was one person I never knew. I've never looked into the history of the artist, and there's more people dying than the Vietnam War. That shakes me a little bit, and it makes me want to go see the history and learn the history that much more.
Oddly enough, just recently it was announced that AIDS is actually cured now because of all the medicines. So not only do we have the preventative stuff we can take to reduce the chances, but there is a cure.
Cure?
Yeah, people are not dying from AIDS anymore.
Dude, I feel so stupid. I heard about this stuff being worked on.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just heard about it pretty recently, as recent as this past 12 months. Yeah. So yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah, I agree.
As long as people are forthcoming about getting tested.
Yes,
and
Yes.
you still have to
doing
be
the prep.
safe. Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm, exactly.
Oh, if we don't hit the microphone at least once an episode, it's really a podcast.
Have to use my hands.
So we have the birth of kink, or at least the birth of popularized
The kink community.
the kink community.
Yeah,
Oh my
because
God,
of
that's a better
course
way of
people
saying
have
it.
been doing kink, in the
Right.
privacy of their homes for forever. But to actually have somewhere where you could find other people and talk about it and learn about it.
and safely.
And be accepted and
And
educated.
accepted, I think,
Yeah.
is let's put that on the table as
Yeah.
creme de la creme.
Yeah.
But the more we learn about kink, the more we learn it's like, oh shit, no. You have to take extreme precautions. And that's a wonderful thing. I would imagine someone would come into this lifestyle and be like, oh, I don't want to take precautions. I'm like, well, then we're not going to play with you. Because you're just damning it for everybody else at that point.
right.
But that makes sense with the leather communities being so adamant about the education and the sexual education, which I fucking love that. I love that the government took their cue to implement that into a school system
Right.
way after. Man. Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, I'm talking too much.
Okay.
Oh, it's all right.
It's your show.
Yes, and actually this reminds me, do you know what flagging is?
Where you put something in your pocket to signal
Yes,
what
I do.
you're looking
Yeah.
for.
Okay, let's talk about. Have you
Yeah.
talked about flagging?
Okay,
No, we
we
have not.
haven't, but I've never heard it called flagging
Yeah.
before.
Really?
I was
The hanky code?
Yeah, or the scarf code or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Bandanaing. Thank you. Okay, so
Okay.
tell me about flagging.
Okay. So part, as I alluded to before,
Cruising.
part of the gay leather community, especially when people couldn't be out about it, they had to be more subtle. And so they had this thing called the hanky code. And it's something that we kind of use just for fun these days.
Yeah.
But back when they did it, it was kind of for a serious reason. And that reason was they couldn't just come out and say it. They had to be subtle.
Okay.
They had to put out signals.
Yeah.
So the most common way of flagging what they were interested in when they were cruising around either in a park that was known to be a place to meet other gay men or at a gay bar was to have your keys either poking out of your pocket or clipped to your belt loops. Now, if it's on the right, you're a bottom. And if it's on the left, you're a top. And or if your keys were put away, that meant that you weren't interested in anything that night.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
this is awesome.
So how did it go to?
So it kind of, as there were more people wanting to get more to a nitty gritty of what specifically they're into, the color of the bandana that they would wear tucked in their pockets would be an indication. So for example, gray is bondage. And so if you were a bondage bottom, you wanted to be tied up.
On the right-hand side.
You'd tuck it in your right pocket in the back.
I love it.
And if you're a top, you put it on the other side. Black was S&M. Before there was BDSM, there was just S&M, which was, sadomasochism. And that was a common thing to do in the gay leather community. I guess I didn't touch on how the gay leather community actually was quite kinky. I mean, yeah, it was very much about being social, having a family and a community, but it was also, much of it was kinky. It was
Really?
about the dominant and the submissive. The submissive was also often called boy, and the dominant would often be the master. And a lot of masters actually got their start as the bottoms, or as the slaves, or whatever they chose to call themselves. But there apparently there's been a lot of discourse on the internet over the years about the old guard. I don't know if you've ever heard about the old guard. That's something that always kind of has to be mentioned in when it comes to the gay leather community, because the old guard was basically a way of talking about the way they did things in the past. And apparently one person, I forget who it was, wrote a book it was called the Leatherman's Handbook. And it was a lot of stories about doing various BDSM scenarios. And although it sounds like a how-to manual, it's more of a handbook, a masturbatory thing, because it's a bunch of fantasies essentially.
I'm done. That was the greatest description for a book ever. I am done in life. Thank you. Thank you.
Intro is going to be, it's more of a handbook.
Yep. Yeah. So I bring up the old guard because over the years on the internet, a lot of people would reference like the old way of doing things in the leather community, like the right way of doing things, the one true way of doing things. And obviously, and the men who have been in the leather community for a long time, a lot of them themselves will say, no, it wasn't actually like that. We were just a bunch of guys hanging out together, you know. It was a lot more flexibility with who does what than some people would have you believe. And there's a concept of earning your leathers, like you only got a leather vest or hat from somebody else, from basically a representative of the community. You'd only get those pieces to wear if you had earned them. Well, it turns out back in the day, people were just buying their own jackets. Or they would start with a denim jacket because that was more affordable, and they put their patches on the denim jacket. And eventually, when they have the money, they would buy themselves a vest. So it wasn't as much of a earning your leather things as some people would have them believe. Although for the leather contest, they actually do, you know, the participants in the contest do earn some leather. There's usually like a leather shawl, what's it called? It's basically the leather boa or something. It's basically a way of showing that they won the title for the year, and then they pass it on to the next person the following year.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. The sash.
The sash. Thank you.
Took me a minute. Yeah. I'm like, I know that there's a term for it, but
yes.
Had to flash back to when I used to watch Miss America.
Exactly. Yes. So there's leather sashes.
Not that Miss America was not hot. I was just saying.
No, the leather sash is heavier too.
Yeah, and I much prefer the leather sash.
Way better stitching.
Yeah. So the hanky code is what grew out of flagging, and there's a whole guides you can find online about what color means what. It's more of a fun thing these days because people usually don't have to go out and cruise.
Right.
Yeah.
They just find their people online.
I think the hanky code is without a doubt one of the coolest things anyone could ever do. Not joking, not hyperbolicing. I'm not blowing it out of water. I felt like Porky Pig there. Literally, it's like, this is what I'm into. You down or not? You don't have to go through like the 4 hours of a first date or like, hey, you have another drink before I can tell you what I'm into.
That's the more I learn about the community aspects and the gay community, like the more I admire gay men. It's like,
agreed.
Yes, no, like you're not hot, I don't want to, whatever. Like it's like there's zero BS. You don't even need to buy them a drink before fucking, you know, from what I understand. They just get right like, I wish vanillas were half as not educated, but as half as efficient to like getting to what they need
and honest.
Yes, honest. So I think that's what I'm really learning in the kink community or in the community in general. It's just like fucking communicate your needs, people. For vanillas, it's like just tell them what you want.
Yeah,
you might get it.
Right. Exactly. I just love like the autistic side of my brain is so like, oh, that is a eggshell white. So I know you're into this. I'm not into that. Cool. I'm gonna keep looking at butts. Okay, there is a robin's egg blue. Now we can connect. I have no idea what these colors are. I apologize for anyone out there if I'm saying something rude. But like, I just love the efficiency. I love like, look, just stop fucking around with my evening.
Or
like, this is all I want to do. Just
or start
fucking around with my evening.
I do want to give a shout out to a YouTube channel that is awesome for learning about, where I've done a lot of my learning about the gay leather community as well as kink. It's called What's the Safe Word? And it's WATTS, as in like the electrical. Yes.
I think I follow them.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
So the main host is Amp and his partner Christopher.
Yep.
And just love that show. And they've been around for a lot of years, and they've put on a lot of great content about kink and leather.
Anybody else you want to plug?
Like a certain artist that you know?
No, not not today.
Okay.
I do also want to touch upon as far as like talking about your needs and to get your needs met. Tangentially, so polyamory. One of the first polyamory books that was written was The Ethical Slut.
Oh,
and
good name.
The couple that wrote it were and are lesbians. So there's another like tie-in with queer culture and kink culture, because not only did they write one of the first books about polyamory, they also write books about kink. So their names are Dossie Easton and Janet Hardy. And so they co-wrote The Ethical Slut in the 90s. But they also wrote together. They wrote the new bottoming book and the new topping book,
as opposed to the old topping book, which is it's just too old. It's just too old.
Who knows what the old one was? But yeah. So they wrote a couple of lesbians. They wrote about about polyamory and about kink. So I was like,
great.
oh, that's such an interesting intersection.
Mm-hmm. And fucking kudos to them for, putting it out there and trying to educate people even more. Because not everyone can go on FetLife. Not everyone can go to, clubs and whatever. Yeah, but like you can still read shit online or order a book or something. Educate yourself for sure.
That's right. There's lots of books available now that I wish were around in the 90s. But, there were these books in the 90s. But, there's a lot more available now.
Good. The more education, the better. Speaking of education, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you to learn more?
So I'm on FetLife as Chicaneerie. And I'm currently, I volunteer a lot over my years in kink, but currently I am helping out the ClubFEM community in Milwaukee, which meets at Inversion. So that is specifically for female dominance and male presenting submissives. And we have fun on Sunday nights every now and then.
And we'll put links below.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Thanks so much.
Wendy, thank you for educating us and touching about the core where everything's coming from. Now doesn't happen without the before. And that's one of the dumbest things I've ever said. But but yeah, I mean,
it's good to honor our past.
And it's a way better way of saying it.
I really just briefly went through the overarching things. There's so much more interesting information about both queer history and kink history, and I encourage everyone to go out there and learn more about it.
And we will anxiously excited for your TED Talk when that comes around.
Right on it.
Because your education is phenomenal. Like I took notes.
Yeah.
Like I'm circling stuff like, oh, I want to learn more about this. I want to learn more about this.
And honestly, all we really can do is highlight.
Good luck.
Yeah. It's not happening.
But thank you again.
Yes, thanks for having me on.
Yay.
Well, that's a wrap.
If this episode cracked something open for you, confused you, turned the light on, or made you rethink some old assumptions, that's the point.
Sex, kink, and desires are never one size fits all. They're personal, they're evolving, and they deserve way more respect than the stereotypes give them.
We're not here to tell you what to want. We're here to champion everyone figuring it out for themselves, safely, consensually, and without shame.
If you learned something today, sit with it. If something challenged you, interrogate it. And if something resonated, explore it.
You can find out more of our work, our art and everything bad at boudoirafterdark.com.
And if you're brave enough to keep learning with us,
We'll see you next time. Stay curious.
stay unapologetic.
Stay bad.
You are my toy. You are my plaything.
The Boudoir After Dark podcast is brought to you by Boudoir After Dark. It's produced by Jason Osterkamp, Hilda Burke, and Donna Van.
Given. Break from me. Give me your everything.
Oh, and then the other fun part was that my son, who has a lot of LGBTQ friends, he was at the parade with them as a spectator.
Oh, awesome.
So, like, he kept texting me. He's like, I'm by, this street and that street. And he's like, whatever you do, don't embarrass me, because he was still a teenager at the time. Yeah. So, I mean, not that I went out of my way to embarrass him, but I'm like, has he met me? Like,
Yeah, obviously not, because that's a challenge.
Yeah, like, I'm on a high from being in a freaking pride parade,
Yeah.
and like, I'm about to see my son, like in a million people. So, of course, like, I hugged him and I kissed him and I gave Anita the camera to take a picture of me, and then afterwards I was expecting like a full-on lecture, like, how dare you and whatever. And he's like, all my friends thought you were cool because you were so excited to be there. And I'm like, of course I was excited to be there. So, yeah, that was, so I am all about not just supporting Pride and everything in June, but like every fucking month. But
Goddamn right.